Welcome back to Soundbites, the show about good people doing good things in the local food and drink industry. Today I'm being joined by Christiana Balder, Jeff Inglis, and Luke Reynolds of Khuva Labs. Khuva Labs is a Halifax-based company that's part of a growing sector of businesses seeking to understand the elements of taste and sensory analysis and how that can kind of support consumers choose the right products that fit their individual tastes and needs. I'm only slightly intimidated today as there's a lot of brain power on this call, including 2 PhDs in neuroeconomics, which I don't even know if I knew what that was before researching about it today, but it's the combination of neuroscience, psychology, and economics and computer science. And all that combined helps to integrate and create an understanding of how this all affects consumer purchasing patterns. So it's like I am part of the Mensa Club today. I'm the outsider, of course, on that side. And it feels like they're very familiar people. I feel like we're friends already. So this is going to be a good call. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Luke. So, tell me a little bit about the business. Give me that kind of elevator pitch so I understand what Khuva Labs is.
Yeah, absolutely. Khuva Labs is focused on connecting consumers to products that are suited to their own unique and individual taste profiles. We're starting in the craft beer scene. So what we try to do is find craft beers that are, unique and delicious and find people whose taste profiles align with the different beers and try to connect them to them.
Okay, so what is that? What's the problem? Are we solving a problem here? Do breweries not understand how are you serving the breweries in this aspect?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of breweries' biggest, focus from a marketing and sales perspective is attracting new customers, is obviously increasing sales, trying to figure out which products are best to put on the shelves. And depending on which province you're situated in, you might only get a limited amount of SKUs. So, the more information that can be made available to them to decide, which products should be on shelves, or if they should open a new tap room in another town, or, which people are best suited to enjoy their products. That's kind of, sort of the problem that we're trying to solve for them. But then we're also trying to solve a problem for the consumer in the sense that, when you walk into a liquor store and you look at the craft beer wall, there's so many, choices. How do we know which one is maybe the right beer for us to try? And as the, price continues to increase on goods, we think that it's incredibly valuable as consumers to be able to have sort of a tool at your disposal that will help you, identify and then find new products that are sort of tailored to your own unique taste profile.
Okay, so fair to say, and Jeff, that the business model is a hybrid in a sense of that you're looking at business to business and business to customer as your long-term goal, rather than focusing individually on one of those aspects. Is that kind of correct in my thinking?
That's right. Yeah, we really want to help the consumer find products that are best suited to them, and really help the craft breweries and retail stores really understand those consumers. And so in a way, it's helping businesses better cater to their customers and really better personalize their offerings to their customers.
So, Christiane, you're one of the 2 PhDs here. So anyway, I hope I'll articulate these well enough. So let's dig into the data, because in these kind of businesses, data is how, as they say, good data in, good data out. How are we getting good data for the business?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I only have a master's, so I just want to cover that.
Only a master's.
No, that's all good. So, I mean, our data collection method is really what our unique selling point is as a company, and it's what we've focused on the last 2 years. We've had several iterations just trying to figure out the best way to collect data, and that's because that's really what we think the most important factor is when we're trying to create a recommendation system and also provide high quality data to businesses. So we've created a system where people can very easily conduct blind tastings. Currently they can do it with beer and cider, but we'll be expanding to wine and other beverages later on as well. Yeah, so the reason we decided to do blind tastings, and that's been, the most important thing for us since day one. We've had a lot of people question that and asked us, like, is it really necessary to do blind tastings? It makes everything so complicated and all that. But we found a simple way to do it now, and we find it essential that it's blind because we want to mitigate all possible biases. So we don't want people to be influenced by the can or the brewery that the beer was brewed by, or even the previous preferences. So a lot of people would say, I don't like stouts. I don't want to try stout because I know I don't like it. But you might, if you try a stout, you might like one. You might happen to like it. So that's why we think like doing blind tastings are very important. And it also sets us apart from other recommendation systems or any other apps where people go to read reviews and decide the beer they want to drink. Because we don't want people to be influenced by others' ratings. Just because you find a beer, you say a beer, you give a beer 5 stars doesn't mean I will like it, because all our tastes are subjective. So basically we've created an app where users can do blind tastings at home with their friends, family, really wherever, or by themselves. And once we have businesses who have partnered with us, as a consumer, you can also walk into a bar, a tap house, and order a Khuva blind tasting. And we then take in that data and give you recommendations on drinks that you would like. And then we also are able to give businesses high quality data about their customers.
Right. And Luke and Jeff, you guys are working. I assume you picked you're not in New York. You're not in Silicon Valley. You're in Nova Scotia. So why Nova Scotia for this kind of business? What about Nova Scotia? Other than maybe, you're both from here, correct?
Yes.
But
yeah. So
what else about it? I assume there has to be other logical reasons to start the business here.
Yeah, I mean, I think our background definitely lends to it. But myself, Jeff, and our other co-founder, Devin, we're all born and raised here in Nova Scotia. Grew up together, been friends going on 30 plus years. And then when Jeff and Christiana met in Santa Barbara during their studies, Jeff finished his PhD, and they decided to, gratefully choose Nova Scotia for their next kind of place to settle. And the idea from Khuva, had originated from Jeff's PhD studies. And then, when we saw sort of the craft beer scene here in the Maritimes, it just seemed kind of, the perfect starting point to begin this business idea. And so, it's started here in Nova Scotia, but obviously we have big plans for where we would like to see this grow to. But it's been very cool to kind of have it originate in some of our backyards, and Christiana being a honorary Nova Scotian now as well. It's kind of cool to see that we've started something where we live.
Amazing. And so let's talk about, maybe I'll focus on Jeff, on why beer, because I think and maybe I have a guess on it, that, I ask 100 winemakers, 99 will say they're trying to make a wine that reflects their taste of place, which includes, letting nature take its course, whereas breweries seem to want to have full control. Maybe it's their engineers, that are running a lot of breweries, but they like to know that they have this grain and the malt, and that delivers this taste. This yeast selection delivers that ester. This hop variety has this kind of alpha acid level, so that delivers this. So was that part of the calculus in starting in beer, not wine? Because you did go to university in Santa Barbara, the center of the wine world, one of the centers of the wine world. Why beer?
Yeah, so I mean, we did initially kind of start thinking about it with wine, but when we got back to Nova Scotia, I mean, as you were saying, I mean, per capita, we have more breweries than California does. So there's just a lot of variety in beer, and the kind of process of creation can be quite rapid with beer. And like you said, it depends quite substantially on decisions made by the brewer. So you can iterate very quickly, ideally using some of the data that we've created. You can create something new. You can change, to different styles, and we want to really help them both find people to consume those products and also be able to iterate very quickly using information that we generate.
Amazing. Okay, we landed on beer. So Luke, you're out there doing the hard work, drinking all the beers, rating them. No, but I mean, it is like you really are driving community about this too, and I think that that's an interesting piece for being a local business. Is you're working with the Craft Brewers Association. You were at the Seaport Beer Festival. You're working with a lot. How important is that to the growth and your early success in this business?
Yeah, it's been really great to have a ton of invaluable resources sort of in our backyard. I mean, the Craft Brewers Society of Nova Scotia has been a great resource and someone that we've begun to work closely with. The Discovery Center here in Halifax, we were participants in the Science of Beer Festival, which really allowed us to kind of nerd out a little bit more about sort of our idea and really collaborate with a lot of the breweries that are very science focused as well. And then culminating in our most recent experience here at the Seaport Beer Festival, we had over 20 breweries participate in our blind tasting that we ran with the festival. So that was kind of like one of our real first, sort of this ecosystem of what we could kind of create within the Khuva experience, where we're collaborating and working with the consumers that are trying and drinking all these delicious beers. We're collaborating with the creators of these beers, the breweries. And then now working with the festivals, it's been a kind of another interesting element to add to sort of, the experience that we're able to provide here at Khuva, where we can, interact with everybody all at once, learn what they're liking, what their thoughts are, and then take that back. And as we continue to evolve our business idea, figure out how best to position ourselves to work with, the retail sector as well, as we, have the capability to work with them more now with our evolution of our web app.
Right. And so for Jeff and Christiane, so once now you're getting this input in terms of understanding what the consumer's preferences, what they like in that grouping. Now on the back end, are you kind of looking and saying, okay, correlating that with style, or how are you making that connection so that ultimately you're making a recommendation to the brewer to say, oh, people seem to like New England style IPAs or West Coast style IPAs, and then is that part of the thought process currently? Is kind of a stylistic direction in terms of how that consumer preference relates back to the brewer and what they should be thinking about producing?
So there'll be kind of many levels at which we can analyze the data. And of course, in terms of style is one. But what we really want to be able to do is really encourage variety. And the way we can do that is by recognizing that, for example, there might be a style of beer that's not particularly popular. But if we know everyone who actually really likes that style of beer, we can still encourage its production by making sure that that brewer can find that style. Or find people to consume that style. But that's kind of at the level of analysis of kind of looking at styles. But really, the model will drill down on kind of personal preferences. So we actually only need to know data about how much someone likes a beer, or if they would purchase it is actually what we ask, purchase intent. And then we can use that information from many people having tried many different products to position people in this abstract space in such a way that products that are close to them in this space are ones that they're more likely to enjoy, and products that are far away from them are ones they're less likely to enjoy. So we don't actually need to know information about style. We don't need to know information about bitterness or citrus aromas or anything like that. Ultimately, we'd love to incorporate that data. But the nice thing is we can make very individualistic, personalized recommendations just by knowing what people like in general.
Right. Okay. Cool. So a lot of fun getting data collection. So, like I said, Luke is probably out there every day doing the hard work, drinking as many beers as possible, I assume. But that is probably that's the scalability of the business. I assume that is dictated by how much data into you can get. So, is that the focus of the business right now? Data collection.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to collect as much data as we possibly can on the greatest variety of beers and taste profiles that we can find.
Awesome. And then the vision is global, I assume. So, but the applications, what are some of the applications you see as being highly successful for it, and what's going to drive success? Because I think, there's a lot of fun in tasting beer. Is that part of what's going to drive success?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Christiana is working a lot on kind of the gamification of the app, so maybe she can speak a little bit to that and how much fun it is to use.
That's true. I mean, the game in it, the app in itself, the way it is now, is already basically like a game. Just doing the blind tasting, and then we also ask people to try and guess the style of the beer that they've just tasted. So it has a little bit of gamification to it already. I think, yeah, overall, we'll increase that side of the app, like just keep it as engaging as possible, so people feel like they have to come back, they have to keep playing this game, and at the same time, they get rewarded with really nice recommendations. But yeah, at the moment, it's in terms of like tastings, it's just craft beer, but we'll expand to wine, and we're doing ciders as well. But at some point in the future, we're hoping this is, the start of a system for blind tasting almost anything. So it could be hot sauces or chocolates or coffee is something we're very interested in. So it could be like this one app that you go to just get all your personalized recommendations for absolutely anything, any sort of food or beverage.
So I assume you guys are getting pretty good at the gamification of this. Are you getting pretty good at? I mean, there's a lot of beer geeks out there, and a lot of these BCJP judges that will tell you it's a subvariant of this style. Are you guys getting that good yet?
The questions are actually based on the BJCP styles.
I'm
so.
sure they are. The defining guide for styles, I'm sure.
Yeah.
One big question, hard question is, Christiana, what's your favorite beer style?
Yep, that's a tough one. I mean, I have to say, before we started Khuva, I didn't really drink a whole lot of beer. But after we started the company, we just had to keep testing the data collection method. So I had to drink for work. And my favorite style ended up. And yeah, I grew to really like IPAs.
Amazing, yeah. Luke.
Yeah, I'm for sure our number one most collected data entry person in the app at this point. I think I've definitely tried over probably 100 different types of beers, but I still skew to stouts. Stouts have always been kind of one of my favorites, and a lot of great local providers that make a really good stout. So it's been very easy to find more of those here in Nova Scotia.
And Jeff?
And I bounce between porters and sours.
Right, so you're the complex mind of the group, and Luke, you can only hope someday you have gray hair like me, because I think I've probably tried maybe 4,000 or 5,000 different beers in my life.
Yes,
wow.
That's a good goal to be sure.
I was a beer geek for sure. So in terms of, I mean, it's a nice story in terms of, it's always great when we have local people, bringing new businesses and new technologies and starting a business that, like I said, could easily have been started in New York or Silicon Valley or a larger center. So how do people support you in your journey and your ability to collect this data, which gives you the opportunity to kind of expand and grow and get out, and build the business? So what can we do to help you as consumers?
Yeah, so the best way to help out is to go to taste.khuvalabs.com. And that's where our web app is, and you can run your own tastings at home. I actually recently participated in one for the first time, despite having been so involved in this. Luke set one up at a friend's cottage for me, and it's really nice because you can just taste the beer. You're still having conversation and nothing that's interrupted, but you can keep track of what you've tasted. It's a lot of fun. In addition, you can follow us on Instagram at Khuva Labs, and you can follow us on Facebook at Khuva Labs. And then I would say also kind of the best way to get involved with this too is to go to your local brewery and grab a beer and let them know that this is something that you're interested in doing as well there. And get out to the festivals. We, like Luke said, we were at the beer fest recently, and we had over 20 breweries participating. So that meant we had over 20 beers on the app, and a lot of people, what they wanted to do was just go out and try to taste all the beers in the app, basically collect them all. So it's a whole lot of fun, and there's a lot of ways that you can get involved in it. And really those are kind of the three best ways.
Well, it's not a bad thing to say go support a local brewery. You know, go to their place of business, have a tasting, buy a 6-pack, take it home, and know that you're contributing to the local economy while you're doing. So thanks
Yeah.
to you guys for doing good things and bringing new ideas, a new business to Nova Scotia, and supporting our craft breweries. And let's hope people like the NSLC are listening so they can support you guys too by incorporating your technology into their retail environment. So good luck to that. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.